His forces sacked Delhi, killing approximately 20,000 to 30,000 people. The invasion led to massive looting, including the theft of the Peacock Throne and other treasures, and left Delhi in a state of chaos and destruction.
Their idea of a heap of gold means there would be 10 men always standing there with arms. But here, people put a heap of gold on the street unsold. Because society was so evolved, people understood what are the laws. If I steal yours, tomorrow you will steal mine and the whole society will collapse after some time. So people were so wise and evolved, when they came, this looked like a free-for-all bonanza. They could take what they want. Wealth was not protected, women were not protected, they were everywhere. They picked up what they want and exploited it in a most horrible way, most horrific way. Agriculturally rich, wealth, gold, diamonds. The first nation which mined diamonds in the world is India, all right? The greatest diamond in the world is still from India, it is sitting on the British crown. Even when the British came, we must understand, it is not the United Kingdom's army which came, it's East India Company which came. It's a business which came, but they saw it so easy to take this country. They became emperors over a period of time. So now we are where we are, wherever we are, whether you are Indian, Hindu, non-Hindu, whatever you are, Sanatana Dharma applies to everybody.
Namaskaram, Sadhguru. We just wanted to ask a question about Sanatana Dharma. Like, what does the Hindu Sanatana Dharma actually mean?
See, there is no such thing as Hindu Sanatana Dharma. It is Sanatana Dharma. Sanatana means eternal. Something that's eternal means something that's always true. So, if you had come here 100 years ago, you would be dressed differently. You wouldn't be making a cinema, maybe you would be growing mangoes in Andhra Pradesh. Where are you from? Krishna district, huh?
That's Hyderabad, sir.
Hyderabad Maybe you will be a farmer, maybe you will be something else, a fisherman or something. Same man, but you would be doing something else. If you came 1,000 years ago, you would be doing something else. So what we are doing today, how you are dressed today, how you speak today, how you act today, is a generational thing, it's of the times. This keeps changing. How tomorrow the next generation will act, how they will dress, what they will do, it'll be totally different from the way we are doing it right now. So this is one dimension of life. This we call as smriti. Smriti literally translates as memory or from memory. Whatever you're doing right now, how you dress right now, is either just like your father or in reaction, never like your father isn't it? But both by memory. So you have learned certain things by memory, this is smriti. But there is shruti, which can be interpreted in many different ways. One dimension of it is, it's the tune of life. This is not set by you, this is creation. Only if you understand the shruti of life, then you can find a rhythm. This is what Bharata means. Bha means bhava or the experience of life. Ra means raga, which is the shruti of life. Tha means tala. Bhava is what happens to you, it's an experience. But raga is already set, the shruti is already set. Now it's for you to find the right rhythm for that, so that life happens beautifully like a wonderful music. If you don't find the rhythm, the same shruti which facilitates life will crush you. So, when we say Sanatana Dharma, we are talking about that dimension of life which does not change, which is fundamental to our existence.
Eternal.
It's fundamental, it is the basis of our existence. Well, how you dress, what's your profession, how do you deal with your family, how do you deal with your relationships, society, this is all transient. Every generation it's different, from person to person it's different. But the laws that govern my life also govern your life and every other life, whether it's a worm, insect, bird, animal or plant, all of them are ruled by that law, which is Sanatana Dharma. The fundamental laws which govern the existence. This must be understood clearly. When we talk about laws, we are not talking about penal code. imposed by human beings upon each other for control and whatever, some semblance of sanity in the society. Because that law has to change from generation to generation. You see, there is so much fight going on about change this law, change that law. Every generation is fighting for it always. That's a different thing because that's a transactional law. When we talk about Sanatana Dharma, we are not talking about a transactional Dharma. We are talking about an existential Dharma. First of all, let us understand the word Dharma. Dharma means the law. Dharma does not mean religion. In this culture, we don't know what is religion, we don't have such things. We are only looking at what are the underlying laws for my life to happen in the best possible way, because we understand unless you stick to the law, your life cannot happen well. Because a law is not an imposition, a law is the basis, it's the foundation of the existence. If you figure this out well, then your life happens effortlessly because you know the laws or you're in tune with the laws. If you don't know, for no reason you suffer, simply. So Sanatana Dharma is that dimension. Does it belong to a Hindu or somebody else or an Indian person or some other person? That's not the point. This is what governs the existence. No culture has looked at it with such profoundness as we have in this culture. So because of that pride, we may say, this is Hindu Sanatana Dharma. But we are limiting the possibility of Sanatana Dharma by adding the word Hindu to it. If you understand, the word Hindu is a geographical identity. The land that lies between Himalayas and Hindu Sagara is Hindu. In that sense, if you're saying it, it's all right for pride, but it's not all right, it's not correct, because Sanatana Dharma applies to every life, wherever they may be born or unborn. It applies even to unborn life and the life that is dead also. So Sanatana Dharma talks about how to handle the unborn, how to handle the born, how to handle the grown-up, how to handle different stages of life and how to handle the dead, all dimensions of life. But Smriti is something that every generation should reinvent or amendments need to happen. This is the only culture which has thought of things like this, that we understand social transactions have to evolve. Evolution does not necessarily mean we're doing something better than the previous generation. It is just that because situations are changing, we're evolving so that we fit into those situations. So situational transactions always have to evolve and change. So this culture allowed that. How you ate 100 years ago, today we can debate and say, that's not the way we want to eat because my work habits have changed. When I was ploughing the land, I was eating that much of whatever. Today I'm just directing a movie, so I will only this much of this. So there is no law to say you have to eat like this, you have to fast like this, you have to do this. Because these laws must be constantly amended. As India's constitution can be amended according to the changes needed for a particular generation. Similarly, but even in the constitution, there are a few fundamental rights and other things that you don't touch. You cannot call that Sanatana Dharma, but in a way it is. For the nation, it is. There are a few fundamental rights which are absolute, sacrosanct, you cannot touch it. But everything else is available for amendments and improvements and knockdown of certain laws, all these things. So, this is a very profound way of seeing life. But what has happened to us is, because of over 1,000 years of invasion, and when they saw, when people who came from outside, what amazed them was, they did not come as conquerors first. They just came as bandits, few dozens or a few hundreds. They were amazed how developed and how economically strong and so much wealth, but unprotected. Their idea of a heap of gold means there would be 10 men always standing there with arms. But here, people put a heap of gold on the street and sold. Because society was so evolved, people understood what are the laws. If I steal yours, tomorrow you will steal mine and the whole society will collapse after some time. So people were so wise and evolved, when they came, this looked like a free-for-all bonanza. They could take what they want. Wealth was not protected, women were not protected, they were everywhere. They picked up what they want and exploited it in a most horrible way, most horrific way. Today we're trying to glorify those things also, unfortunately. But in a most horrific way, they did this. When the Islamic invasions happened, this happened. They did not come as invaders. They did not come as religious crusaders. They just came as bandits. But when they saw it was so easy, because there were men involved in profound music, mathematics, astronomy, astrology, all kinds of things, but there were not too many fighting men. So it was a walkover. The land, the beautiful land that this was, the rich banks of the rivers, agriculturally rich, wealth, gold, diamonds. The first nation which mined diamonds in the world is India, all right? The greatest diamond in the world is still from India, it is sitting on the British crown But they saw this is like a paradise that you can take without resistance. And they took it because they were basically nomadic people, barbarian, they did their own terrible things. Even when the British came, we must understand, it is not the United Kingdom's army which came, it's East India Company which came. It's a business which came, but they saw it so easy to take this country. They became emperors over a period of time. They came only to do business. Traders. Traders came and became emperors and rulers of this nation because we had such a profound culture where people were not in that fighting mode but involved profoundly into these things, and laws were absolutely respected by everybody. So they thought the people who came from outside also is going to respect this, but they were in for a surprise. By the time they recovered, it was all over So now where we are, wherever we are, whether you are Indian, Hindu, non-Hindu, whatever you are, Sanatana Dharma applies to everybody because these are the laws which guide the fundamental process of life. But smritis are different. Your smriti and my smriti may be different. It is different, actually. What is true in Andhra Pradesh is not true in Tamil Nadu, what is true in Tamil Nadu is not true in Kerala, so close by. What is true in this western Tamil Nadu is not true in southern Tamil Nadu. Because this is by memory. Our parents, our culture, what they did, either we are doing the same thing or in reaction we are doing an opposite thing. But this is a constantly changing process, not only from generation to generation, in our own life. Every few years our smritis are changing. From our memory we are changing, isn't it? Many aspects of our life. But Shruti doesn't change because this is not set by you, this is set by creation. So Sanatana Dharma means this, what governs your life, you must understand that. Once you understand that, you live a profound and beautiful life. So we didn't have to talk about… See, in this culture, nobody is talking about morality, commandments, what you should do, what you should not do, moral stuff, if you do this you will go to heaven, if you do that you will go to hell, all this is not there because we inculcated this dimension. If you are in tune with the laws, you don't need punishment, you don't need reward. If you understand the traffic law rules and you're driving accordingly, you don't need a policeman, isn't it? So this was a culture without a policeman, for which we paid the price in some way, unfortunately.
So Sadhguru, at that point of time, the Sanatana Dharma in our country was so strong. And because it was our country, we call it the Hindu Sanatana Dharma. And ippatiki ee kalamlo there is a talk that everything is diluted, like the be it religion, even if you think in terms of religion, in terms of the Sanatana Dharma of today's age, everything feels diluted, palchpadipoyindani oka feeling undi. So why do you think that is happening, even though it's been a long time since we have been under any direct foreign influence? And also the original strength that we had, like back in the day, where did that come from?
See, you cannot dilute Sanatana Dharma. Your understanding may be diluted, but Dharma is not diluted because it's a basis of the existence.
Society's understanding.
Yes, individual understanding may be diluted. From person to person, it may be in different dimensions of understanding. But is the Dharma diluted? Who can dilute it because you didn't create it? That is what is governing the laws of nature, all right? So you cannot dilute it. When we say laws of nature, Today, modern science has brought this sense of very superficial way of looking at it. Laws of nature means gravity, physical things. But there is a law. See, from the same soil, this tree is growing. From the same soil, this creeper is growing. That comes out with one kind of leaf, this comes out with another kind of flower. From the same soil you have eaten and you become this. From the same soil I have eaten and I have become this. Source is same, look at the manifold expression. They say there are over 1.6 trillion life forms on this planet right now, that's the thing. But I think there are many more that you've not even seen, okay? From a microorganism to a human being, in between everything has come from the same soil, isn't it? So, why is it? Suppose, let us say you and another animal eat the same food for the next 2 years. You think at any point you will get confused that you may be the animal, or the animal will get confused that it may be the director? Is it possible? No. So obviously there is a law governing it, isn't it, no matter what. It is not like a traffic lane where you can go here and there. It's like a railway track, it is just fixed and you're just going on it. The question is, how fast and how far will you go? That's the only question you have. You can't become this tree, can you? Can you become a tree? Can you become a dog? Can you become a cat? Can you become a cow or an elephant or a tiger? You cannot do what you want, you can call yourself a tiger. That's an evolutionary backward step But you cannot become… if you eat like a tiger, you will not become a tiger. If you behave like one, you will not become one. Whatever you do, it will not become one, because there is a fundamental law governing all this. If you understand and if you're in tune with that, you will live effortlessly. If you don't understand, every step you will struggle. So is Sanatana Dharma diluted? That's not even in our hands to dilute. Our business is only how profoundly do we perceive that law? How much are we in tune with it? So entire system of yoga is just that, we are not talking on those terms, but essentially we want you to be in tune with the rest of the existence so that your life happens joyfully, with exuberantly, to the fullest capacity that it can happen. See, only thing that can go wrong with your life is just this. Did you find full expression to your life or not? Isn't it? What can go wrong with this tree? Only thing is, will it grow into its full capacity or will it die as a half-grown tree? The same is true with the human being. If you're in tune with the laws, you will grow to your full possibility. If you're not, you will become stunted in some way. This is our only concern, isn't it? People may not actually think like this, but actually that is the only thing. All their desires, all their ambitions, all their longings are all about becoming a full-fledged life. So if you want to become a full-fledged life, understanding the laws of on what basis this life is happening, is it not very important? That is Sanatana Dharma. It doesn't belong to you or me, it is laid down by creation. It's for you and me to be in tune with it. Here, we have understood and codified it and put it together in a certain way. It doesn't mean in the rest of the world nobody knows about it. Many individual people know about it, they might not have written it down as Shruti, Smriti, whatever, all right? But a whole lot of human beings around the world have been in tune with it, because everywhere human beings have blossomed and lived well. But no culture has put it together in an organized way, because this level of understanding has not been there. This has happened to us because we had about 6 to 8,000 years of uninterrupted culture. This is why we call ourselves Hindu, because we know this uninterrupted growth and flourishing of this culture happened because of two main geographical features. Himalayas protected us in the north, people didn't come easily. In the south, the Indian Ocean was the barrier. Once they learned how to cross Himalayas and once they learned how to navigate the Indian Ocean, then we are done. That's what has happened to us in the last 1,000 years.
So in today's age, sir, like today's generation, whose responsibility would it be to teach or tell or guide people to be on the right path or to follow or to understand the Dharma, because it's is it? I mean, in today's age, we have to even wonder: is it even does who holds the responsibility? Is it
No,
like
no, in every age, people think there is something wrong with the younger generation, okay? There's a quote which says, this younger generation is lost, they have no respect for wisdom, they don't even stand up when elders come, this generation has no future. Something like this, I'm paraphrasing it, very much like that. But who said this? Socrates said it. At that time also he thought the same thing. So he now also parents are thinking the same thing. Our parents were thinking the same thing about us. I'm not thinking like that about the younger generation. I see that there is a possibility. The question is the previous generation, what kind of footprint they leave. That decides what kind of footprint the next generation will leave. If you have left an irresponsible footprint, they will go somewhere. If you have left a responsible footprint, responsible does not mean imposition. Responsible means cultivation, isn't it?
inspiration?
Inspiration and cultivation, not imposition.
Throughout the long history, India has experienced numerous invasions and periods of foreign rule, each leaving a significant impact in terms of cultural shifts, economic changes, and tragically large-scale loss of life. Here is an expanded account of some of the most devastating events and their death tolls. British colonial period, Bengal famine of 1770. The Bengal famine of 1770, caused by a severe drought, was exacerbated by British economic policies that prioritized revenue collection over relief efforts. The British East India Company imposed high taxes and exported large amounts of grain, worsening the food shortage. As a result, approximately 10 million people, about one-third of Bengal's population, perished. The famine also led to a massive depopulation of the region and long-term economic decline. Great Famine of 1876 to 1878. The Great Famine affected southern and central India, particularly the regions of Madras, Bombay, Mysore and Hyderabad. A severe drought coupled with British economic exploitation and inadequate relief measures led to the deaths of an estimated 5.5 million people. The British response involved the establishment of labor camps where conditions were harsh and relief efforts insufficient. The famine highlighted the flaws in colonial administration and its inability to effectively manage food security. Bengal famine of 1943. The Bengal famine of 1943, occurring during World War II, resulted from a combination of natural causes, wartime policies, and administrative failures. The British denial policy aimed at preventing Japanese forces from accessing resources led to the destruction of food stocks and transport infrastructure. Additionally, inflation and misallocation of resources worsened the crisis. Between 2 to 3 million people died, and the British government's inadequate response to the famine drew widespread criticism. Islamic invasions. Muhammad of Ghazni, 11th century. Muhammad of Ghazni conducted 17 invasions into India, targeting wealthy temples and cities for plunder. His most infamous raid was the sacking of the Somnath temple, where tens of thousands of defenders and inhabitants were killed. Muhammad's invasion left a trail of destruction and death, with significant cultural and economic impacts on the regions he attacked. Timur's invasion 1398. Timur, also known as Tamerlane, invaded India in 1398, aiming to plunder its wealth and subjugate the Delhi Sultanate. His army massacred around 100,000 people in Delhi, including prisoners who were executed en masse. The invasion led to widespread destruction, looting, and a significant loss of life, leaving Delhi in ruins and its population devastated. Mongol invasions, 13th century. The Mongol invasion of India, while not resulting in long-term control, caused substantial destruction and death. Tens of thousands were killed in battles and raids. The Mongols' tactics of mass slaughter and terror left a lasting impact of the regions they invaded, contributing to significant demographic and economic disruptions. Nadir Shah's invasion 1739. Nadir Shah, the ruler of Persia, invaded India in 1739 with the objective of acquiring wealth to fund his military campaigns. His forces sacked Delhi, killing approximately 20,000 to 30,000 people. The invasion led to massive looting, including the theft of the Peacock Throne and other treasures, and left Delhi in a state of chaos and destruction. Conclusion: the invasions and colonial rule in India had devastating effects on the population. The British colonial period, particularly the famines caused or exacerbated by British policies, resulted in the largest death tolls, with tens of millions dying over the centuries. The invasions by Islamic rulers Timur, Nader Shah and the Mongols also led to significant loss.